Welcome to Prime Debate. Osama bin Laden has been killed and with him has been wiped out an era of terror which he unleashed throughout the world. But does this mean that the war against terror is over, or is it just another beginning? That's what we discuss in Prime tonight.
Bin Laden's death in Pakistan has ended the world's most widely watched manhunt. This was the period which saw the US at war in Afghanistan and later in Iraq. But the man eluded the world for 10 long years before finally falling down to American ammunition. That bright September day was darkened on the morning of 9/11 at the command of this man as Twin Towers fell like a burning tree. The most wanted man of the world was an enigma for most, and his name spelled terror. Fanatic to the core, this Arsenal fan gave a slip to the intelligence agencies many times. When entire America thought that he was ungettable given the history of his escapades, this time he was on the contrary gunned down. The chief of dreaded militant organization Al-Qaeda was killed by the US forces in the town of Abbottabad in Pakistan. And while the world is elated over the elimination of bin Laden, some questions still remain to be answered. As of now, it appears Osama was living in the safe havens within the Pakistani territory, not too far away from the capital, Islamabad. Intelligence officials believed that $1 million home was custom built to harbor a major terrorist. But does that mean that the ISI wasn't aware of the development, or did it help Laden seek a safe haven in Pakistan? As per reports, the operation against Osama bin Laden was carried out by the US forces, and that too on Pakistani soil. Does it lead to souring ties between the two nations, or do we see a new era of war on terror from now on? And finally, does it signify the end of terrorism, or is it just symbolic?
What does Osama's killing mean to the world? We try to find out with our guests tonight. We are joined in the studios by PC Dogra, former DGP Punjab, Professor S.K. Sharma, a former member of the National Security Advisory Board, and Mr. S.S. Gill, former ambassador to Mexico. Welcome to the discussion. Mr. Dogra, I'll start with you. Nearly a decade after the 9/11, how important is Osama bin Laden's death?
You know, after that 9/11, that was the greatest thing to have happened in the world. There has not been much of Al-Qaeda's activities as such, and bin Laden has been mostly on the run, and USA has been behind him, after him. It's good the justice has been done, but I don't think Al-Qaeda itself, the terror is over. The fight against terror is not yet over, and moreover it is I think it's an iconic kind of victory, symbolic, because he had not been active. There are various other Muslim organizations, radical organizations like Hamas, others, Muslim Brotherhood, which have been very active. Lashkar-e-Toba, as far as India is concerned, is the main organization which is hell-bent upon doing greatest harm to India. So Al-Qaeda is over, is good, is something should have been done, and is done, is a great thing. But then the world need not be sort of become complacent about it.
So you think it's more symbolic than anything else?
It's more symbolic as and today, because Al-Qaeda is a mindset the world over the Muslim youth. Muslim youth are becoming Al-Qaeda mindset over the internet. Most of the activities you would have seen, the attacks in UK and other places, they were not organized, they were not conducted by the Al-Qaeda, the direction from the Al-Qaeda. They were the local splinter units. They did it on their own because of grievances against the Western, whatever they thought about it. Al-Qaeda, you see the history of Al-Qaeda, they have been co-opting the other militant radical organizations. As such, Al-Qaeda is a mindset, the greatest terrorist, given to the world is Al-Qaeda mindset, which Osama bin Laden has given. But beyond that,
I'm sorry, Mr. Dogra, I'm cutting you short, but I'll move to Mr. Sharma now. Professor Sharma, Bin Laden has been the central plank of the West war on terror. Could it be that for years he's just been smoke and mirror?
He was basically, you could say, the symbol. And for any movement, you require a symbol. If you look at most of the insurgencies, whether in South America, whether in other parts of the world, there always have been one charismatic figure, and all the young people, they want to emulate him. From that particular point of view, this is a very crucial time at which he hasn't taken away. Reason is that now in most of you see the Middle East, the young people now are moving toward democracy.
Right.
So taking away this symbol, I think it will be a positive sign over there, because otherwise he was the only symbol, and now when he is gone, people can, as Mr. Dogra has said, that internet, now those young people are using internet more to bring in the democracy.
Now, Mr. Gill, Osama is dead. Is it all over? I mean, should we feel some closure on this chapter?
In a way, I agree that this is symbolic, but it has very serious implications. For the first point is that Osama had not been active after 2005. That's the last that was attributed to him. But what has happened is, because of his own medical condition, he had sort of faded out from what you might say public view or active operations. But behind the scenes, his organization had mutated into a Hydra-headed organization. Now, Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Haqqani group, and so forth and so on, have become independently active organizations. They didn't need Osama bin Laden. And I think that was the intention on their part also. Now, what was keeping things alive and keeping things moving is his ideology. And that's what was being pursued. Now, the Americans have put a closure to what was termed as the 9/11.
Right.
Much more important is that his killing is a shot in the arm to the US action against terrorism. How? Largely the Iraqi operations had been seen as to sort of been midway on the thing, not totally in America's this conclusion, but also in Afghanistan there was now a growing impression that the Americans are trying to get away from there, and Pakistan was now seizing the opportunity and playing the duplicitous role that it had. The third element is this, that Osama bin Laden's killing has come at a time when Mr. Obama is actually gearing up for his second term on the subject.
Mr. Dogra, as you mentioned that he was not active from 2005 onwards, so do you think that terrorism has moved past bin Laden?
as I said, he has given the mindset, Al-Qaeda mindset to the Muslim youth. Muslim youth has a grievance against the Western ideology, Western philosophy. They have taken over, they have captured the Middle East, and the grievances are there, even in Pakistan. But I must say that there is a parallel movement in Middle East. Youth is emerging, democratic, processes. So it is a kind of, flux situation. But we can't say that the organization, because he was heading it is symbolic to my mind as and today. It's a good achievement. But I think the war is not yet over. The world terrorism is not yet over. There is no need, there is no scope for any complacency. In fact, Ayman al-Zawahiri, what his name is, he was de facto in command.
Right.
Al-Qaeda, this Osama bin Laden was not that much active as his number two, and he continues to be alive. So it doesn't mean that
So that means there are more than one figure which is actually active. Mr. Gill, can I take you back to the time when 9/11 happened? I think soon after that you were in Mexico. What kind of a mood did you see in Mexico at that point of time? Mexico is bordering the United States.
Actually, the situation in Mexico was quite the opposite. The kind of seriousness, the way it was being taken in the United States was not exactly so in Mexico. Yet the Americans were very active in Mexico vis-a-vis security, because they felt that any reaction to their bombing of Afghanistan and the actions that followed could find its way through Mexico under the garb of the narcotics trade, which is very prevalent in that area. Therefore, their activities in a large number of spheres, airport security, land security. The Americans could be seen to be active in Mexican borders on the subject. But the Mexican person itself, for whatever reasons he wants to emigrate into the US, a land of opportunity next door, and Mexico not having developed particularly in the southern areas, was somebody who didn't like the Americans in a larger way. And therefore I found myself with a turban on, finding myself at the end of congratulations each time the Islamic faction did something to the Americans in Iraq.
Well, that must have been a very embarrassing situation.
I had to tell them again and again that I'm not a Muslim or wedded to Islamic.
Mr. Gill, with your experience in the Indian Foreign Service, what does this mean, Osama being killed in Pakistan? What does it mean for the state of Pakistan as a democratic country?
I think it has huge implications. All this while, Pakistan has been saying at the ministerial level, at the highest levels, that Osama is not in Pakistan. And now he's been killed, as Mr. Obama has himself said in his opening statement, deep in Pakistan. In fact, only 300 yards away from the military academy.
Okay.
Now to know that he was living there, and you think the Pakistanis did not know about it, it's impossible.
Professor Sharma, Abbottabad is also the home to a brigade headquarters. That's what the information that is coming out is. So, do you agree with Mr. Gill that it's quite an embarrassment for Pakistan?
It is. But I would like to make clear one thing. Everybody is saying that Osama bin Laden was not very active. But people don't recall that the person who was in charge of the Indonesian operation was arrested in that place. And there was most of the operations for our, you see, the part of Kashmir, the main center was that. So it is not, it doesn't mean that because he was not active, because they knew that Americans are tracking. You see that CIA officer who had killed these two people, he was also, they were tracking, they knew that it is somewhere near here. And that is why it is not very correct to say that this Obama, you see, has said that this particular operation has been very successful, because Laden was, maybe he was behind the scene, but he was active. And number two is that most of the people who have been taken care, they were basically in Karachi.
So you think he was still active? Mr. Dogra, with Osama bin Laden being killed in Pakistan, what does this mean for the ISI, the Inter-Services Intelligence Organization of Pakistan?
Osama bin Laden was living in the safe house of ISI. That is mentioned is the safe house of ISI. As we have the very safe houses. It's a fact. I mean, nobody should deny it. And the ISI was totally in the know of it. They were monitoring. They were actually conducting all kind of activities for him, keeping him safe. And the chief of the army staff was totally in the knowledge. I mean, he was party to this. I don't know about the political leadership, but they must also be aware that he is in Pakistan. It was a kind of, they were using it against USA, to sort of blackmail USA.
So that means the pressure to declare ISI as a rogue organization would increase now?
Will increase, but it will not affect them. Nothing is going to happen, because Pakistan, USA is totally dependent on Pakistan for all their success in Afghanistan or for safety of their homeland in America. They can't afford to sort of annoy whatever India may raise voices, whatever may say. They had to keep Pakistan on the right side.
Not going to make much of a difference.